I've been trying really hard this year to break out of my bad habits, and the worst one, it's the fact that I stopped reading. And honestly, it kind of took me by surprise because I used to read constantly. I feel like I have become this mechanical robot that does pretty much the same thing every day. I wake up, I work, I doom scroll on my phone, I go to sleep. And it's boring. But more important than that, it's soulless. And this is the whole reason why I started doing unhinged recaps of books. Because truly, I realized that my life was missing a little bit of magic. And I don't mean magic as in fairies, although there's some of those in the books that I'm reading. They're doing very adult things now. And so I have actually been doing better with this. I've been optionally reading for fun for the first time since I was a teenager. But the thing is, I keep setting myself reading goals and not hitting them, with the excuse being, well, I just didn't have time to read. And quite honestly, that's a big fat lie. So in a weird kind of masochistic form of self-punishment for making excuses just to go on my phone and doom scroll as opposed to reading and activating the imaginative parts of my brain, I've decided that we're going to be getting up every morning at 5 a.m. to read, to prove that if you don't have time, you can make some. It is 5:15 in the morning, exactly, and I just spent the past 6 minutes trying to figure out how to make my iPhone do this little jazzy horizontal clock. And I don't even think you can see it on the camera, so already immediately not a fan of this. I had to put a bra on at 5 in the morning. It's a hard no from me. The book that I am reading is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hardman. I started reading this months ago and just never finished it. I'm on page 33, if anyone cares. And I just thought it'd be nice if I actually used this time to finish this book, because it's a good book. I'm interested, I'm engaged. Not literally. In the words of Ray, where is my husband? Or wife? I'm not fussy. Anyway, what I lack in marriage proposals, I make up for in time to read, because I have so much of that now that I'm awake at 5 in the morning. The aim of this video for me is to finish this book. If I finish this book, that's a win. Stretch goal, like I'm back in GCSE English, is to finish 2 books. And my current night shelf books, Legendborn by Tracy Dion, Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and The Vegetarian by Han Kang. I would love to finish one of those books. The Vegetarian, I think, is possible because it is also quite a small book. I mean, this is a small book. It's like 200 pages. If I can't finish this book, I think there are potentially bigger problems that I should be dealing with. 1 like equals 1 faith point in my ability to read what is essentially a novella. I'm going to be honest with you, I feel that I may really need those faith points right about now. I've got a cat clawing at my crotch and a very strong urge to just go back to sleep, so... Okay, I'm going to be honest with you all. This was not a good idea. I felt like the novelty of waking up at 5 a.m. has officially worn off as of day 2. And now I just fully regret every single one of my choices that led me to this exact juncture in my life. Let's do 60 seconds of mindful breathing, and maybe after that I'll be lucid enough to be able to intellectually read. Intellectually. That's right, this part of today's video is sponsored by Headspace. Headspace is the everyday mindfulness meditation app that's full of colour and calming exercises to help you find You're in a peace. And they have something for everyone, from short meditation bursts to breathing exercises to expert-led sleep tours, guided meditations, sleep casts, and as I mentioned, breath work. Look how pretty the animation is. I've been using Headspace for a little while now. I even spoke in the last video about how I've been using it to help me break up my perpetual doom scrolling. It's not good. It's not good. Unlike Headspace, which is very good. Yeah. For this video, I've particularly been using the morning radios and little breathing work exercises. And I've been using those before I start reading. I wake up and I have something to listen to that sets the tone for the day. And doing so has allowed me to feel more centered and awake, which makes sense because some studies have shown that meditation offers both short and long-term benefits to improving your attention span and decreasing your stress. Just 10 days of Headspace has been proven to decrease stress and increase happiness. And by using my link in the description box below or by scanning the lovely QR code on screen now. Look at that editing. She's pulled out all the stops. She's put in a PNG. You can try Headspace for free for 60 days. Lovely. Okay, well now we know how I'm waking myself up at 5 AM and not going back to sleep. Let's return to that. Let's see how it's going. Okay, so yesterday I made a good crack into this book. But today I want to read differently. So I'm going to swap to one of these books, and I don't know which one. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll pretend that I took into consideration that comment. Let's do Crime and Punishment. This is the book that I've been trying to read for probably the last decade of my life. I've started it and then DNF'd it on 2 separate occasions. So maybe now's a good day to just suck it up. Dare I say, at 5 AM, sleep deprived, unsure whether I'm prophetic or pathetic, is the perfect time to start Dostoevsky's work. Question, when you guys read old books, do you read the foreword? The only book that I can remember actually reading the introduction is Beijing Comrades, which is a gay erotic novel. Crazy thing to get on here and just say with your chest, but it is essentially one of the most iconic pieces of Chinese queer media. It was anonymously published online in the 90s as an erotic novel, and then over time someone has compiled all of the online entries into a book called Beijing Comrades, and it talks a bit about the history of the text, how it exists, how it was made famous essentially. 5:22. Let's get it, baby. I do love it when old classic books have such an air of modern relatability that you understand why they're a classic. For example, he had successfully avoided meeting his landlady on the staircase. His garret was under the roof of a high 5-storied house and was more like a cupboard than a room. Yeah. It's exactly like renting in the London market, babes. He was hopelessly in debt to his landlady and was afraid of meeting her. This was not because he was cowardly and abject. Quite the contrary. For some time past, he had been in an overstrained, irritable condition, verging on hypochondria. He had become so completely absorbed in himself and isolated from his fellows that he dreaded meeting not only his landlady, but anyone at all. Relatable king, I can't believe I ever put the book down. Let's just shut up and read, shall we? You know what? It was worth getting up at 5 AM just to relate to Dostoevsky like he's a giggling teenage girl. Who says Russian literature was dry? Not I. Certainly not I. Okay, day 2 of waking up at 5 AM and reading complete. It is now 6 AM, which I'm going to call it here for today. Look at us go, I'm very proud of us. I'm really starting to think that 5 AM is the appropriate time to read Dostoevsky, because 5 AM is the perfect time for despair and delusion. I do think that there is something to be said about the fact that I'm also not going on my phone the second I wake up. I'm doing my headspace, and then I'm reading. And there's something about the gradual ramp up from being very sleepy to being more conscious that is so different. I don't actually remember feeling quite so gentle in my wake up in a very long time, even despite my other morning routines, because they're lists, they're things that you have to do, checkpoint, 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 checkpoint. But I do think there is something about giving yourself time to do something you enjoy first thing in the morning, where I feel like I have a lot of good energy, a lot of dopamine. I'm feeling quite positive. I don't know if I feel positive when I wake up and I look at my phone. Not overtly anyway. I think I feel quite flat. I don't feel flat. I actually feel quite human. Imagine I say all of this and then tomorrow I wake up and I'm just like, this is the worst thing I've ever done. Feel like it's time that I'm very honest with you, divas. As of day 4, I am now of the opinion that this is actually an incredibly good way to start your day. Okay? However, I'm also of the opinion that if you as an individual insist on waking up at 5 a.m, you should also ensure that you go to bed at an hour that can facilitate that and still allow you to be a functional human being. Am I doing that? Absolutely not. Remus, stop reenacting the fall of Rome. Oi! Oi! Shh! Shh! Because usually I go to bed around this time. I don't tend to wake up and turn lights on. So I think my cats are having an identity crisis. If you can do this and still manage to get an 8-hour sleep in before you do this, I think you're onto a winner. Truly. I genuinely think this would change your life. Not even being dramatic. Okay, let's do our mindfulness meditation exercise on Headspace. Let's get ourselves feeling a little bit more cognitively able. And then I'm going to go back to reading I Who Have Never Known Men. I have been reading Crime and Punishment for the last few days. Good morning. Welcome to day 7 of the reading challenge. This is the last day. Yesterday I started editing this video and I was faced with the fact that most of the clips that I've filmed are blurry. When I tell you that right there was one of the most painful experiences I've had this year. It's up there. It's certainly up there. Apparently, I disabled autofocus on my camera, and also auto aperture control. I didn't even know I could disable either of those things. Sorry. Fortunately, it is the last day of this challenge. Unfortunately, I am yet to achieve any of the goals that I set out. I think this is because I opted to alternate days reading books as opposed to just reading one book and sticking with it. I have like 60 pages left of this book, which is very doable. Sorry, I turned another light on and I've just been flashbanged. Maybe you want to go back to sleep? No, he's lying on my book. Something that I've noticed about this challenge is how much better everything feels. Not my energy levels, those are pretty diabolically low. But in terms of happiness, I think there is something to be said about the simple pleasure of waking up and doing something that you enjoy, that is just for you, and having this quiet, self-indulgent time to slowly wake up by getting lost in a story. And I think it's really, I don't know, it feels kind of magical in the way that reading feels when you're a kid and you're staying up late reading when you know you shouldn't be. As an adult, I feel like there is a lot of emphasis on doing things quickly and being fast and productive and not wasting time. And I don't think I ever really stopped to consider how much enjoyment was being snipped and trimmed from my life for the sake of efficiency and being productive. And there's something that almost feels quite rebellious of spirit to steal back some time before you do your big girl job. Or maybe I'm just overtired and delirious, and I've been reading too much Dostoevsky, and now everything feels deep and profound. Okay, I'm going to continue reading this and hopefully achieve the primary goal of this bloody video. The thing that gets me about this book is the way it seems to reinvent loss within the context of the book. So it'll introduce a theme of loss in one way, and then a little while later it introduces another way in which loss exists and is felt by the main character or the people in the world that's completely different to the previous way that you thought was the sum of it, if that makes sense. It's really interesting to have a book that can showcase so many different facets of the same emotion and show how differently it can be felt despite it having the same name. And I love books like that. They make you think about the spectrum of an emotion. Very cool. Well, not cool because we're dealing with themes of loss and grief. It's actually quite tragic, but you get the picture. I finished the book. I wish I had more time to process the book, but very good book. Very much enjoyed. It explores a lot of themes of loneliness, what it means to be human, what it means to be a woman. If you're interested in my thoughts on this book, I have a Goodreads account. Someone did mention that potentially I should not use Goodreads and I should use Storygraph. I haven't looked into that yet, but I will. Thank you very much to the person who suggested that. I just started it because I have a second channel which I am now going to be using mainly for books, because I actually really love reading. I originally applied to university to do English literature, and then I became disillusioned with the world of fiction. And honestly, I think it's really nice to be at an age where I'm rediscovering literature and my love of literature, and I feel satisfied. Did not achieve my stretch goal, unfortunately, but I am further into Dostoevsky than I was the previous times I DNF'd it, so that's half of progress, Diva. We'll take it. In a world that is increasingly telling you how to spend your time and to maximize productivity by doing as much as you can, as quickly as you can, the idea of being able to slow down and be self-indulgent with your time is a privilege, but it's a privilege you deserve. Getting up 10, 20 minutes earlier if you can, to read, to draw, do something creative that is entirely self-indulgent. Enjoy the process of slowly waking up, doing something you love, be present, get lost in a story, whether that's one you create or one you're reading. And I wonder if you'll find, as I did, that the magic that I thought I'd lost with my childhood has slowly started to creep back in. Maybe the real waking up at 5 a.m. to read was the friends we made along the way.